Hey there, and welcome to the Hey Kahla Podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Evans, and I am very excited to be using a brand spanking new microphone for this episode. I actually treated myself to a couple new presents last week to celebrate the launch of my podcast, and that takes us into this episode where we're going to be chatting about the importance of not only recognizing, but celebrating yourself. Now, before you start to tune me out or turn this off thinking, I just do what needs to be done, or I'm not out here looking for attention, or I don't need a pat on the head to do my work, humor me for a moment, please. Because no matter how self-sufficient or tough or hardworking and humble you are, there are actually several reasons to recognize your efforts and your work that will not only help you feel really good, but even get you further along in your journey even quicker. Now, I know that I'm not the only one out here who has accomplished something that I've been really proud of, and then right away, I turn around and I look at my list of what's next. What's the next project, next task? What's the next client, the next big thing I want to do? Instead of taking a moment to really appreciate what I had already done and either recognize or reward myself for it, I was always so quick to move on to the next thing. And as much as I believe that, yes, it's the journey and it's who we become in the process of doing these things that matters, I also now believe that it is so important to pause for a moment and appreciate yourself for what you've done and enjoy that moment of success before pushing yourself off into the next thing. Now, I'm also sure that I'm not the only one out here who has been in a job working for someone else, where my manager or boss didn't give me any positive feedback or show any sort of appreciation for the job I was doing. I remember back in those days, I felt like everything I was doing wasn't good enough, or maybe I wasn't enough. And it was just adding to my stress at work. And working in live television and live radio can already be a bit of a stressful situation at times. And I was actually in a leadership training course last month put on by the fabulous Jane Helbricht of Uplift Engagement. And she shared that along with team performance, the other big responsibility that leaders have is the well-being of their team, and that great leaders actually care about their people as humans, not just as workers. And that includes giving appropriate praise and feedback frequently. Now, I am most definitely not an HR professional, so I can't speak to how a leader could or would properly recognize their team. But I do have a lot of experience as a human being who never really noticed their own achievements and successes. And honestly, when I first started my company about a year and a half ago, I never gave myself props for anything. I skipped right past the fact that I had to, on my own, figure out how to register my business, build the website, figure out how to take payments, how to get those clients in the first place, how to build things, how to do the paperwork, how to do the marketing. I flew right by the fact that I was putting myself in these rooms and networking events with people who knew way more than me, and that I was actually brave enough to ask these people for their help and their guidance. All of these things, this long list of things that deep down I was really proud of myself for, I never ever celebrated them. It really wasn't until this year in 2024 that I started to give myself a lot more credit. And I started to celebrate myself for putting Kayla out there, for asking for help, for figuring things out, for Googling things on my own, for creating these things out of the blue that I am so freaking proud of. And it really hit home when I launched the podcast last week. I am proud of myself, like really, really proud of myself. And I think that you should be proud of yourself too for everything that you're working on, even if nobody else says it. Actually, especially if nobody else says it. Maybe you don't have a manager or a boss who even knows how to give you feedback or praise for the great work you do. Or maybe you're an entrepreneur like me, and if you don't take the time to recognize yourself, you're never going to hear a good word. Because not only do compliments and support make us feel good, I mean, we're human, we love these things, but they also go a heck of a long way to reinforce a couple of things. First, the fact that you can do challenging or difficult things. And second, it reinforces the fact that you can complete the things that you set out to do, that you can set goals and then reach them. And both will go towards increasing your confidence, which I am all about over here. You can have a whole life and career, and I mean, you probably do, that are full of wins and massive milestones. But if you breeze right past them without taking a moment or several to relish in them, you might not even notice or even remember them at all. And this is one that I know all too well because, again, I never used to celebrate anything. I come from a super hardworking, just get it done farm family. And maybe it's a friendly Manitoban thing as well. And maybe it's the idea that I'm a woman in a society like ours. And subconsciously, I took in these ideas that I should stay small and humble and quiet. Whatever it is, I never used to share a ton with my family and friends. And I definitely didn't share a lot on social media. Any of the awesome, incredible things that I was doing in my career that I was really proud of, I never wanted to look like I was bragging, so I just kept it to myself. I really didn't tell anyone when I signed my first big contract in TV, or when I got the chance to travel and work with World Vision, which I loved, when I bought my first house on my own, which I was ecstatic about, when I started hosting Winnipeg Jets games, when I started my own freaking company. I rarely put anything out there back then, just in case I looked like a self-obsessed egomaniac, all, look at me, look at how awesome my life is. I never wanted anyone else to see my stuff, my content, compare themselves, and then feel bad about what they had going on, or maybe what they didn't have going on. It's been my entire purpose in business and life to make people feel good about themselves, to help people feel better about themselves. So the last thing I ever wanted to do was the opposite and make someone feel poorly about themselves. So I kept things quiet. But meanwhile, my camera roll and my Google storage was running out of space with these pictures and videos of all the once-in-a-lifetime opportunities and experiences that I've had and that I continue to have. I mean, I shared a little here and there. Usually when it was connected to a nonprofit or a charity, I wanted to get their name out there and give them some props and give them some recognition. But when it was anything Kahla-centric, I just kept it to myself. But again, something really shifted for me this year, and I just thought, I don't care anymore how someone might misunderstand me. Not only am I proud of the things that I've done, but I've worked really hard for them, and I should celebrate myself. Plus, I reframed it to think that somebody might see me over here doing my little celebratory shimmy and realize that they can and should be celebrating themselves as well, that maybe it would be like an unspoken permission slip, if you will, and create this really fabulous ripple effect that if they saw me proud and celebrating, they would feel encouraged to do the same. And that's what I want, because I truly don't believe that there's anything wrong with sharing what you're working on or what you're up to. If you're proud of it, you should put it out there. I don't think that it's self-obsessive at all. I think it's really confident. Because if somebody doesn't know your vibe or what your heart is all about, and they do think of you as a big old bragger, then that's just on them. We can't be worried about trying to change others' opinions or viewpoints of us if they are that committed to misunderstanding us. The people who believe in you will be right there with you, cheering you on, and those are the folks that we want to focus on anyways. Plus, I also think that making the time and effort to love up on yourself will help keep you in momentum, and this was huge for me. I recently revamped my coaching packages and offers this spring for my public speaking and confidence coaching practice. And that momentum led me to start this podcast, which in turn has me also making some massive moves on my next project that I'm so excited about. And I promise details will be coming soon. But it's created that momentum for me that is really keeping me going. So whether it's a podcast or a blog or a YouTube channel or anything else that you want to create, or maybe it's a hobby that you're just super pumped about, or you got a promotion, or you're buying a new house, anything at all that lights you up, I want you to know that you don't have to wait for somebody else to congratulate you or celebrate you. You can congratulate yourself and proudly share it with the rest of us. And it also doesn't have to be some huge, massive party that you throw in your own honor. Although go crazy if you'd like, throw that party and please take photos and videos and then share it on social media for the rest of us to enjoy. And it also doesn't have to be an expensive gift that you treat yourself to. Some of my all-time favorite ways to mark achievements that I'm really proud of is to make myself a special dinner at home or take myself out to one of my favorite restaurants. I'll buy myself a new book that I've been wanting, or I'll pick up a new face mask or scrub from like the dollar store. It's inexpensive, makes me feel good. I'll also go for a pedicure, or I'll put my phone on Do Not Disturb and watch my favorite rom-coms from the early 2000s. Those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking of. It doesn't have to be really expensive. It doesn't have to be majorly time consuming. It doesn't have to be like this huge production that you put on. It just has to be something that puts the focus on you, that celebrates you, and makes you feel really, really good. Because again, when we do that, when we take the time to notice and recognize and celebrate and cheer ourselves on, It's going to make us feel really good, yes. It's also going to reinforce the fact that we can do challenging, hard things. It's going to reinforce the fact that we can set goals and then absolutely crush them. And it's also going to keep us in that positive momentum so that we keep rolling towards other goals and other things that we want to do into the future. So that's what I have to say on that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And please, please, please promise me that you're going to do something to celebrate yourself, either this weekend or over the next week. I want you to pick something that you're really proud of and mark it with some sort of special event or special moment that is just for you. And think of me over here cheering you on and celebrating you as well, because you definitely deserve it. And please feel free to share this episode and this idea of celebrating yourself with anyone else you think might need to hear it. And then come hang out on Instagram after for more celebration, inspo, and chit chat. If you do celebrate yourself, feel free to post it. You can tag me on Insta at Hey Kahla or send me a DM with however you choose to celebrate yourself. As well, you can sign up for my free weekly newsletter. The link is in the show notes. And then for anything and everything else, you can head on over to heykahla.com or send me a note at info@heykahla.com. I hope you have the best day.